Hey, this is David Ramsey from Arrow, and you're listening to Tomorrow's Legends with Martin, The Flash, Harley Quinn, and X-Force 11. Oliver, don't.
In 2016, a new TV show hit the digital airwaves and needed a podcast dedicated to chronicling its adventures. An elite team has been assembled for this task. Unfortunately, the world's listeners have not heard of this Wonder Twin duo. And although they may not be known now, in the future they will be referred to as Tomorrow's Legends.
Flash?
Yeah, Harley?
We don't have an intro this week.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Nothing?
Yeah, nothing. I could not come up with any fancy creations this week.
Oh.
And you know, I'm like kind of wondering, we have never gotten positive or negative feedback as to whether people even like our goofball intros.
Well, that's true. I think they're fun.
So do I.
And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, the Maid of Mischief Harley Quinn, and the Blue Beacon of Hope, X-Force 11.
You know, I don't even remember why did I really have a brain fart and couldn't think of anything, or was I just trying to be funny to get a shout out like, hey, we want to know if you guys even like our intros? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Well, welcome to Yesterday's Legends, where we are doing just that. We are visiting yesterday, or yesteryear rather, as we not only travel back in time to watch old episodes, but we also travel back in time following the team around as they follow the Darhks around. Whew, that's a lot of time traveling. I'm wondering if this keeps me younger, the Flash.
And I've joined the choir, singing back up on Amazing Grace with Elvis. I'm X-Force 11.
Ah.
Hello, Legends.
Hello, Gideon. And we do not have Harley with us tonight. She is, she's having a Harley day. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Just the fellas tonight. We are here to talk about Season 3, Episode 13 and 14, called No Country for Old Dads and Amazing Grace. You are listening to one of the shows of the Cybercast Network, which has many other good shows on it, not just Tomorrow's Legends. We got Dive Into DC, we've got the Mandalore podcast, and Cybercast with the Cyber Movie Review. So check those shows out. John and Justina over on Dive Into DC are covering all your DC needs, so if you're really, really itching for some of that content, check them out. And yeah, I got nothing to say about Mandalore because there's just nothing going on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to new stuff sometime in 2024, so.
That's all we can give you. Yeah, we have no idea. But we do have some news.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
So it's kind of a good news, bad news type of thing. So the writers and actor strikes are over, so that's great. And per Creative BC's website, that they map a lot of the filming there in British Columbia, Superman and Lois will start filming on January 11th and end on April 22nd. Now, some seasons they aired episodes while still filming, and some, like last season, everything had been filmed before it started airing. So my bet is we're going to get to see some of the episodes before they finish filming. That means maybe still holding true to that late April time frame that the CW gave us. But again, nothing is really confirmed on when we're going to get started with episodes airing. Because you think about it, they've got to start us off with a moon battle with Superman and Doomsday on the moon. So they've got a lot of CG to do this season. So
yes, I mean, that has to finish. And I mean, we have no idea how. We can only speculate what's going to happen. Will they do the death of Superman?
Yeah.
In his final season? Will they make that the beginning of the story arc? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. So, some other news. The Kent farmhouse has been torn down. So, looking at it, only thing that's left there is the barn. The Smallville site is still around, so are they going to use the stock shots for exteriors, or, like my theory from last season, are they moving to Metropolis this season? And when they're going to Smallville, they're just going to be filming in the downtown. I don't know, but that was an interesting move that they tore down the farmhouse exterior. So we'll see how that plays into the story. So
that to me is surprising because, number one, I thought for some reason they were renting the house from a family. I thought it was a real property that we were filming on.
Yeah, me too.
Because I'm pretty sure that's what it was like in Smallville, the TV show, and I thought they just did the same thing here. So the fact that they tore it down is kind of actually sad. Like,
yeah,
you'd want to, but I guess it was just on a sound stage somewhere or a lot somewhere that they own. I guess, I don't know why you wouldn't leave that up. Like, leave it up. What's wrong with that?
Yeah,
it's a nice house. It can be used for movies. People that never watch these TV shows, you could put that full set in a movie somewhere, and it'd be great. So. Oh
yeah, I mean, you watch enough stuff that's produced in Canada, you'll see a lot of the sites over and over. Yeah. There's like the hospital where young Nora was kept. I've seen that in multiple different TV shows. So, the exterior there. So, who knows? But anyway.
Who knows? But I like your theory. Maybe they're moving to Metropolis. And, I mean, they did also just build the new Island Sanctuary. So maybe we'll be out there a lot more, too.
Who knows?
Who knows? I know we made a lot of jokes about that. How are they going to get out there? Just drive a boat?
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. Well, I mean, we only got 10 episodes too, so.
Yeah.
But I would imagine it's. I think you got a good idea that it's going to be Metropolis because Lex is here now and he's causing trouble and he showed up on the farm and they didn't like that. So I think they might be moving to get away from that and hopefully, maybe they figure the city's a more public place. And he might not come after them as much. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? Well, we got something that happened last week. We haven't played this in a long, long time, and it's probably good that we don't play this very often. But letters lost in the timeline. Somehow, something happened to Comic Geek Kev's feedback from our last episode. I have no idea what happened. I didn't get it in my email box until after the show was recorded, so I don't know if he sent it late. I don't know if it just got lost in the others, but anyway, here's his email from last week talking about Mamma Mia and the Zari episode. So, hey legends, Mamma Mia, here I go again, Abba and Zari. So we start with a sort of classic time loop scenario episode. I love the crew in their disco duds. For some reason, Zari in this episode immediately made me think of how different 2.0 ends up being. I don't think Sarah would have been so dismissive of Zari's warning that the ship was in danger. But Nate's suggestion to bring up Groundhog Day was pretty clever, but Ray citing Star Trek TNG was priceless. And of course, the montage scenes as dictated by the time loop rules. Zari's speech was amazing, and Gary was, as always, a bright comedic light. I had forgotten that this was our first real Gideon, and the first time I heard the phrase dinkly tickling. Yes, we had a good laugh about that. This definitely ranks up there in my favorite episodes of Legends. Time travel, character building, live Gideon, some Ava Sarah flirting, and Zari in the spotlight. Who could ask for more? I agree with you. As for episode 12, another one I had all but forgotten. I'm a sucker for a good sword fight, but I always felt Wally was poorly handled from the beginning. However, I do like to see Rip back, and seeing him and Wally drunk was pretty funny. The pirate costumes on the guys looked kind of silly, but Amaya looked great. And although I forgot most of this episode, I do remember Ava Lance's first date and smooch, and the plant effects of the totem were pretty well done, even a Goonies reference. Not the best episode of Legends, but certainly not the worst. Decent action, and it moved the season-long arc forward with the totems and the Darhks. I give episode 11 a 9 out of 10 Hedgehog Days, and episode 12 an 8 out of 10 What Else? Buried Treasures. Until next time, Comic Geek Kev. So, that is...
good stuff.
Yep. Refreshing what we had talked about 2 weeks ago. So thanks, Kev, and sorry that got missed. I got your email in there for today, so you will not be left out in today's feedback. Let's get into our ratings for the very first episode, No Country for Old Dads.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
All right, I gave this one 8.5 family reconciliations. This was fun. Getting to see the start of the Ray-Nora romance was so fun. Brandon and Courtney are a great couple, and they got to showcase so much during this episode. I also love the family dynamic between Damien and Nora, and how Ray brought them back together. And all in all, it was just a fun ride.
It totally was. I am up there with you, giving it a 9 times kicking your own ass. That will go back again. Man, oh man, this one had the humor dialed in for me. I love Neil's performance and seeing how much fun he's having playing this part. He's really letting loose this season and taking everything that they give him. His expressions, his delivery, his timing, he nailed this entire episode, and my rating is all from him. I love the scenes with Ray and Nora also, as this was their first foray into really being together more often and seeing them play these parts. Knowing that they're married in real life was just such fun entertainment, and it makes me wonder if they talked and laughed about it after the director says, cut! Because there's so many things, like she's picking on him all episode and he's being a goof. Like, I just wonder if they're, jabbing at each other after the director says cut. I would love to see behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Would have been fun. So there you go. Let's get into our talking points for this episode.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
All right, so let's talk about the meat of the episode. That's Team Dark and Ray.
Yes.
So they have Ray record a message to kind of bait the Legends and the Bureau to maybe try to come find them. And so this was kind of an interesting turn of like the hints that he lays down for them in that hostage video.
Yeah, and I felt so bad for Ray here in this opening scene because he loves this team. They're his close friends. He cares about them a lot. He does a lot of things for them without ever asking for anything in return. And he just assumes that it's mutual and that everyone would notice that he's gone and would be out looking for him. Yet nobody did. Nobody realized that he wasn't even around. I mean, you just listen to Zari and Sarah and they're like, my God, like, why is the kitchen so dirty? And they just start to realize, wait, where's Ray been? And judging by that pile of dishes, I mean, it's been days at least since he's been gone and nobody's noticed. Like, man, that makes me so sad for Ray.
Yeah. I know. And this is the Ray that I really loved, and we'll talk about that in the next 2 episodes. But I love this Ray, and I agree with you. It's just sad that it takes them that long to notice that he's not there. But anyway, so Nora cannot get Amaya's totem to work for her, and Kawasa says that Nora needs a selfless reason to get it to work. And now this makes me wonder how Kawasa can wield hers, or if the selfless thing is only because it's Amaya's linked to the totem. I'm wondering, like, is that the reason it has to be selfless, or so it breaks it? I'm just questioning things there.
That is a good question, because is it just Amaya's totem that needs the selfless act, or do all the totems need a selfless act in order to connect to their bearers? If it's all of them, then maybe what Kawasa is doing to save her people is considered selfless? I don't know. But if it's not, which I think is maybe more likely, I think each totem has its own set of quote-unquote rules that have to be followed. Depending on the totem and depending on its basis, whether it's a good person or a bad person, I think there's probably a different set of rules per totem, because I think they're all based in something different. Like, they all come from something different, so they probably have their own statuses that you need to abide by. I don't know. I don't know how to word it, but that's kind of where I'm feeling.
Yeah, I could see that, or I could see, like, once it bonds with the person, then it follows that person's rules and regulations and things like that.
Okay.
Because like Zari, was struggling a little bit at the beginning to use it too. But I like your theory a little bit better of like each totem has its own like personality and rules to follow. I like that a little bit better than it's applying the same to everyone. So
yeah, and I think unfortunately they never really fully explain it to us. So it's just up to us to kind of imagine. And yeah, if that works for you, that works for me.
Yeah. So they do have the Fire Totem, but it's broken, and they figure out that they need somebody really smart to fix it. So they've got Ray, and it's kind of menacing to think that this Fire Totem killed Kawasa once. So I mean, it's a really powerful totem, but they, once again, they need Ray to fix it, so they've got to blackmail him into fixing it.
Now, refresh my memory. Do we know that story? What happened to Kawasa? Was that in the cartoon for Amaya, or did the details ever come to light about that? Because I couldn't remember.
I'm not sure, because it's been so long since I watched the cartoon, and like honestly, I don't remember much of it. I only watched it once, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's the Vixen cartoon we're talking about, when Arrow and Flash actually visit her. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering about that. So because is it the totem itself that kills her, or is it who was wielding the Fire Totem that killed her? Because that's not even clear.
Well, I think they used the totem to kill her. Like maybe, I don't know if it like evaporated her in water form or something. I don't know. Because we did see Nora basically raise her from the dead at the beginning of this season.
Right.
So, who knows?
Out of a lake of water, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe she got melted to a point where she couldn't reform again. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I also found it funny that Ray, he wasn't bending to the threats until they threatened going back in time to kill his mom while he was a kid. That's what freaked him out, and that's when he said, okay, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah. So Ray figures out that either they need the energy of the Big Bang or cold fusion in order to reforge the totem. And this sparks Damien because he killed the inventor of cold fusion in 1962.
Yeah.
And so this leads to the mission where Nora and Ray have to go save this inventor Vogel before young Damien kills him. And this was, it wasn't really explained in the episode, but Nora has to fight because she doesn't have magic in 1962.
There was a one line by, like, when she struggled with her magic and Ray's like, what's going on? She said, I'm still feeling the effects from the injection you gave me. It hasn't worn off yet. Of the nanites or whatever that he put in her.
Yeah.
That's what she said. She said, it's still affecting me. I can't access my magic yet.
I was wondering, I heard that, but I'm wondering if there's something about the timeline, but that makes no sense because she was, it has to be that, because I was like, maybe since she was back in time, but then she was back in time resurrecting her dad, so yeah, it's got to be that, but I forgot about that line, so that's good.
Now, this might be a stretch, but this whole idea of killing the inventor of cold fusion 1962, I wonder if that is based on anything in actual history, in reality. Like, did somebody actually get close to inventing fusion and the government or some oil company or something shut it down? Because we know that has happened before. There's theories that someone has created an automobile engine based on water, and the government and the oil companies went and bought everything out and shut it down because they don't want to lose the money that they get from oil. So I'm wondering if this is just a far-off play on something that maybe actually happened in history. I don't know. If it is, it's cool. I mean, that's what the Legends show does, is it plays on a lot of our historical facts. So I can't see them creating this out of nowhere. Because they've used Einstein before. They've used a lot of things. So I'm just wondering, I would love to dig into that and see if there is something there. But
I'm sure there's probably conspiracy theories out there that you could go find.
And that may be what it is, yeah. But you never know. I mean, because that kind of thing, they wouldn't let the truth be revealed. But and as for Nora fighting, she is, like, we're just getting to know Nora, but she can fight hand to hand just as well as her dad. Like, she's really good. And I'm thinking to myself, where do all these characters train and practice? Like, do they just in their downtime, they're at the dojo, practicing? Or did her dad, because her dad hasn't been in her life for 23 years, so he didn't show her.
No, so. It had to be the cult people that raised her, I guess. So.
I guess. I don't know. It's just everybody seems to be able to fight hand to hand now. It's it's really good.
So it was, like I mentioned earlier, it was great to see this married couple play off each other in these scenes. Just their back and forth and the jabs and things like that. And I loved Ray's voiceover scene on the making the ID montage, especially where he says, that phrase about legends never going anywhere without disguises. And I thought back to your thoughts, was saying, they always used to have disguises and then they just didn't anymore. Yeah. So
yeah, it was good stuff. And it's a rare thing, I think, in Hollywood. I would say that this can happen when a husband and wife can actually work together on the same show or the same movie. I don't think that happens very often. So they really took the chance and dove in here. I mean, like we were saying in our opening monologues, like, Courtney must have just loved getting to pick on him and be the tougher character, and he's wimping out, and she gets to put, because if you watch this episode, she shoves him a few times. Yeah. So she must have just loved that. Must have been having fun, and I just wonder what that was like for them. But yeah, it's so cool. And I should have tried to find a sound clip for you of that scene you were talking about, because I've got one here. I just gonna sprinkle a few in throughout here, because I so loved the scene when Damien was messing with the upswipes guy. He's like, I like left and right better. Well, I heard up and down is just, it's such a funny scene. I'm just going to play it here because it just cracks me out. This is Neil McDonough just having a good time with this character.
Sorry, Alan. What the hell, Ray? You quit. There's no takebacks at upswipes.
Oh, you're the up and down guy. Me, I prefer side to side.
Our focus group's fun up and down was more intuitive.
He might be right.
We think it's just the paradigm.
You have your lab, now get to work, nerd.
I think the visual maybe makes it work a little better, but I love Damien Dark in this. He's so funny.
Yeah, it was a blast. And we see him send them off, and he's concerned, and he's sitting there talking to the dead guy on the floor, kind of having a one-sided conversation, with him, and he's worried about them, and so he heads back into the past, and we get to see him just basically taking everybody out at the border crossing. And it was just a blast because, getting to see him use that magic and kind of use that flow that we've seen from him, and I just really appreciate that. But what was even better was this confrontation between Nora and Damien about her childhood and his motives. And I just really appreciated that because of, you could see the effect that Ray was having on Nora, and that's why she brings this up to him.
Yeah, so a couple points there. I think somehow, just talking about Damien Darhk, I think somehow the Legends show found a decent balance with Damien Darhk this season, because as we always said, especially on Arrow, he was too overpowered, and the magic just doesn't work well in the context of these shows. But somehow, as this season's going on, they found a balance that made us feel his threat level, but also feel that sometimes we had a chance. Not often, but there were openings that the team could exploit. And I like that this show found that delicate balance, and it I don't know, they just figured it out. And I don't know, like this season, I'm not feeling like he's too much, and it could just be his performance and that he's having more fun with it that has given me that feeling. I don't know, but I'm really not feeling the way I felt with him on Arrow in season 4. So it was, it's good. They figured, I mean, they had fun with him last season, but we also had, you know, Malcolm Merlin and Reverse Flash, so that was like a triple threat. But Damien by himself, they've honed it in, I think, just right.
Yeah.
And like you were talking about with Nora and Damien, like it was a really good kind of, almost like a family council session of stuff that needed to get out after all those years. I think she said it's 23 years or something. Like they had all of this stuff just built up, and it needed to come out. He needed to hear it. She needed to say it. And like you said, it was all because Ray talking to them. And I think this comes up a few times in this episode, like just Ray getting to them without them even knowing it. Because every time Ray talks, everybody just rolls their eyes and brushes them off like, whatever, you goody two shoes. But it actually sinking in, and they don't realize it. And that's what's so great about this episode too.
Yeah, you know, he's being that family counselor because we talk about him. He sees the best in people, and he wants the best for him, and that's what got him into being a hostage here. Yeah, but people, you're right. People, he's talking, and people kind of roll their eyes, but people are listening, and it gets through slowly. But the other thing that I really liked about this is really getting to see him hero up as the Atom and be that hero in the suit. And so that was a blast to see him just be that hero.
Yeah, like we're still getting good Atom suit action back then, because there comes a time when we're going to start complaining that there's no stealing up, there's no Atom suit anymore. Like all of this stuff gets put on the shelf. And so to get to revisit this and see the Atom suit and see it be useful and see him use it in, you know, very strategic ways, very smart planning ways, or ways to get him out of trouble. Like it's just, it makes the suit look useful and why he built it. And I loved getting to see that again. And it was funny to see that, like you were saying, Ray actually got through to both Nora and Damien as well. And it got both of those characters to start thinking differently. And they don't even know it. They don't even realize that Ray's words got to them. and I think even when they do realize it, they're like, oh, well, they got annoyed at it, but yet it's helping them. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's very intricate little detailed stuff here, but it's the strength of the writing here for these characters. It's really good.
Yeah. And we see this rooftop battle between Damien and young Damien and Nora, and you know, Damien is saving her life and trying to get her back on the roof, and he keeps getting hit and she keeps falling, and she selflessly sacrifices herself to save her dad's life, and that's the thing that lets her access the totem, and then she's able to save them both. It was a neat turn. I had totally forgotten about it.
Yeah, that you're right. That was the key moment. That's all she needed was that cell. Like, let me die, Dad. You've got to save yourself. And that was the totem's like, there's the key that unlocks my lock. Yeah. But at the same time, this was always the scene that bugged me the most in this episode. Because I just can't understand why he couldn't just bring her back over the edge and drop her on the building rooftop again, instead of the up and the down, the up and down. Like it makes no sense to me. Like he could have easily just flicked his fingers, whoop, and brought her over the edge, and then be done with it and then get into the fight to fight himself better. Like, it always made me groan. I know it's a comedy point, and it was funny for the first 1 or 2 times, but it went up and down over and over and over. I'm like, save your daughter, flick her over the edge, be done with it. And it's just, So yeah, my only nitpick.
I agree. A very, very plot devicey type thing.
Moment,
so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we see the two of them making amends and showing that Ray's advice worked, but they're at the end of the episode. But Mollis is taking her over, and this was kind of an interesting thought of just like they are getting to the point where they're ready to move forward, but then that's when Mollis steps in and starts taking over.
Yeah, now as I was saying with Ray, it's kind of like Ray is the Luke Skywalker here. You know, when Luke Skywalker was talking to Vader, but he's not seeing Vader, he's seeing his dad. And he's like, I know there's good in you. I can help you. Come back to me. He's getting through the dark to bring them back to the light. And that's what Ray is doing here. He knows there's good in these people, and that's why he saved her, and that's why he's helping them now. Like you said, he sees the good in people. He is the Luke Skywalker here. He will not give up on them. It's pretty, and it's kind of funny I say that, because how many episodes ago was it, season 2, that we saw him ignite the sword of the Knight of the Round Table? He turned it into a light sword.
Yeah.
So, kind of funny. Now, Courtney Ford's acting when Mollis was taking her over, that is all physical acting. And that's not easy to do, because she's the only one on set at that moment in that scene. And she's got the entire crew watching her, and she has to go through these physical, crazy motions to pretend that a demon has taken her over. It's not easy to do, and to make it believable is not easy. And she does it so well. She dives right in. She's a standout on the show, and this is why I always wished Courtney was used more. Because eventually, after this season, she's only in it like every 5 or 6 episodes she comes around. I just like, oh my gosh, you've got a diamond in the rough here. Yeah. Just like tell Ash with Zari, like, you could have used Courtney so much more, because she's giving you everything she has every time she has a scene.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff.
And then you're talking about Mollis here, like, you know, with Mollis taking her over and everything. We're 13 episodes in, and they're still building up the threat of Mollis at this point. 13 episodes in, but it's still working. That's what's funny, is it's still working, because you see what he does to her there, and we're shaking in our seats wondering, what's he going to be? Like, who is this Mollis? Holy crap, this is freaky stuff. They're still building it, and it's like it's building to this massive crescendo, this massive climax at the end of the show, which we'll get to it. I feel ultimately fails. So, but at this point in the episode, or 13 episodes in, they're still making them this, like, holy crap, like, what is coming our way? So.
Yeah. Still building up the menace. And so, yeah, I appreciate how that they're doing that. But yeah, it was good. And so you're talking about Courtney. I know that she's, I don't watch it, but I know you do, the rookie, the Feds. She was in that.
Yes, not a regular though. She would show up every 2 or 3 episodes and just have a small part. She wasn't a main cast, but she was like the leader of one of the federal captains or whatever she was, and she'd come in once in a while and tell the team, do this, do that, do, and whatever, and then she'd be gone. So she was like the boss, but you just don't see her very often.
Yeah.
So, but if you want to see Courtney Ford, check out Rookie Feds, and you will see her.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got 2 more sections, so let's talk about Rick. Let's talk about Rip and Wally joining the team.
If we have to.
Yeah, kind of move on this section. But so they come to help with the Mollis situation. They're there to try to help the Legends with that situation.
Yeah, and okay, Wally's powers are useful in any situation for sure. But I think for the story of this season, I don't feel like we needed Rip or Wally at all in the season. Like, they don't need to be here. We don't need Rip to push the story along about, I've been tracking Mollis down forever. Like, why? You're a time traveler. You were trying to stop a villain from killing your wife and kid. What does this have to do with you and him? Like, you're a time traveler. You and demons make no sense to me. This is more of a Constantine storyline. Constantine should have been the one coming in, hey, you know, Mollis is a dark demon. I've met him before down in the pits of hell, blah, blah, blah. Like, that makes sense. Rip doesn't make any sense to me at all. And bringing Wally in, he's just too overpowered for the show. They never found a way for him to work, and that's why he didn't last very long. And me personally, I never liked the actor that much. His scenes aren't that funny. I don't know what it is with this kid, but he just doesn't express very well to me. I don't know. There's just something about him that's just off that I don't like. And Rip, he just lets me down. I know Harley likes to defend him and talk about him. There's moments that I liked him, but this season, I just don't think we need him.
Yeah. I think both of us are a little biased on Kid Flash because we're so loving Kid Flash from Young Justice. And that is the one that we're used to. And, you know, even on Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, that was the Wally version, correct? So we're used to that particular character. We got that much history, and so this is a departure from that. So, yeah. So, Nate and Mick have been going to Grateful Dead shows all throughout time looking for Ray because of his video.
I know. I did have to laugh, though, when they all come into the scene, and Mick's like, ugh, you know, he stole those glasses, and Wally races over and grabs the glasses from him. The look on Mick's face was priceless. He just stood there staring at Wally. He didn't say anything. And it was enough to strike fear in everybody. And I love Dominic there. Mick was priceless. Perfect look.
Yeah.
Because he's got the history with the speedsters. He came from the Flash, and he fought these guys, and they don't get along. They don't like each other. So, yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we've got Amaya and Zari and Wally at the beginning using meditation to help find Amaya's totem and try to locate it.
Yeah, and again, this is where Wally, I just find him annoying here. Like, he annoyed Zari and Amaya. He annoyed them, and it annoyed me to see them being annoyed by him. Like, just But the totem story, I don't know. This season, it's hit or miss for me. Like, I wasn't really interested this episode in the totem story because the Nora, Damien, and Ray stuff was so entertaining that I didn't need to keep jumping back to the totem story. So, like I say, hit or miss. Other episodes, it's been great. It's like, whoa, there's a lot of history here with these things. Cool. This episode, no, I didn't want it because I was loving the other stuff so much.
Yeah, I mean, I know why they had to weave it in because of you know, Nora taking it over and things like that. But yeah, it was a little bit awkward. But they finally do get to the ancestral plane, and you can see it's being taken over. There's darkness and corruption, and the ancestor says that they will need Kawasa's help to stop Mollis.
Yes, we are setting up for the Care Bear stare. We must gather all the totems, whatever you want to call it, Captain Planet, Care Bear stare, all of those stuff. We're starting to set up for that, but we didn't see it coming. Like, at this point, we were just thinking, ooh, cool. Like, hey, all the totems together, what's that going to do? Ooh, like,
yeah. So they tried to talk to Director Bennett to get them to help, but before they can get to him, Grodd just takes him out.
That Grodd scene was so violent. He's killing people left and right, and then he stomps on the director at point, like, right in the camera, and you just hear the bones and everything just crunching underneath his, like, it's violent. That's every once in a while Legends throws in a scene that takes you off guard, and that was that one. It's just like, whoa, okay. Violent.
Yeah. So Wally is able to, find Ray there, once they find, that where the anachronism is that's being, hidden from them. So Wally's able to save Ray, and he comes clean about Nora with Nate. And I love the bro time with these two because it works. It just works. I never liked the other stuff where, Bayrod and Nate. I didn't get that. But these two, it just works for.
They're buddies. They're the kind of friends that you wish you have with somebody. You wish you had that kind of buddiness with somebody that you just could throw out. And it comes and goes in your life. But these guys, I envy that. And this particular scene you're talking about, that's going to come around because it is one of the favorite scenes. But yeah, we'll talk more about it when it comes. But it is. They were doing it. It's like the actors also got along really well, and that's why this worked, because you felt it. You felt them having fun with each other. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we get to the end of the episode, and Sarah invites Wally to stay with the Legends.
I wish she hadn't, but she sees the usefulness in him for sure. And it was funny too. Like when she first met him on the show, she was, man, Wally, it's been a long time since I've seen you back in Central City. And you try to think back, like, when was the last time Sarah and Wally would have had a scene together before he joined the Legends, other than the wedding? I don't.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Probably
could be. Yeah. So, but I had to laugh. It was somewhere in here. They were talking about the totems and the planes of existence or whatever. And I don't know if you noticed this. They called it the world between worlds. I was like, where have we heard that before recently? Star Wars fans? The world between worlds? Yeah. Really? That's what you're calling the totem state when they're talking to Grandma there? Pretty funny.
Yeah, that was fun. All right, so the Ava-Lance section. So Sarah and Ava have a fun night and are celebrating the next day with French toast. Now, this just makes me hungry. I'm hungry for breakfast. And even though it's, only about 8 my time, it's a little too late to eat. But it still makes me hungry for breakfast. But what was really fun was to see Zari come in and just make it awkward. And then just Ava fell into the awkwardness as well. So.
I feel it. I had waffles this morning for breakfast, so I feel you. I was close, but something about French toast, and you can always eat breakfast for dinner. But I don't know. You got some good willpower, man. Because if I was hungry, I'd just be going and getting it. It didn't matter what time of the night. I mean, speaking of nights, like it was good. We had to wait a little bit because I was up. I didn't even realize it. I was up till 4 a.m. last night. It just, I came home and I was doing stuff, and then I realized, oh yeah, Black Friday sales started. Oh, okay, there's a couple things I wanted to check into, and I was up researching. I was just, okay, I want to look at this model and that model because I'm looking at 3D printers right now. I want to get one. So I'm like watching video reviews and what's better, what's good for beginner data, and all of a sudden 4 a.m., holy crap, yeah, I better go to bed. So... But anyway, back to your point about being hungry. Like I ate something. It was like 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, I'm ready for second dinner. I felt like a hobbit. Dinner number 2, right?
yeah. Oh,
but yes, I love the awkwardness. Zari, or I should say Talash. Like she's so good at the awkwardness, but like she's only awkward for a moment, and then she turns it into sarcasm. And she's oh my god, she's so priceless. I just love her so much.
Yeah. But, I mean, we see in this episode that Ava is just so good for Sarah and vice versa. And it was great to see Ava, admit that to Rip, at the end of the episode.
Yes. Because Rip was like, so... You and Sarah, eh? Because when they were kissing, you saw him in the background, watching. But the look on his face doesn't show that he's happy for her. He looks concerned. And that started the mystery. And I'm going to play a clip right here, and then I'll say more about it, because that kicked this off. But
So, you and Miss Lance?
I think there's something real there. She's special.
So are you. Gideon, delete file 354Z. Sarah can never find out the truth about Ava.
Yes, Director Hunter.
Oh, file 354Z, Ava's secret history. What a bomb to drop for another mystery. This season was so good at kicking off and developing new storylines that were intriguing, that made us go, whoa, what was that all about? And this was just one of them. I think there's another one in the next episode, but it's just, I don't know what it was about the season, and I don't remember if I really highlighted it as much when me and Harley first went through it, but I'm really picking up on it in this rewatch that this season was really good at throwing in new mysteries that had us on the edge of our seat and wanting to come back for more to find out what does that mean? What's going to happen next? And this was like, what?
Yeah.
Delete the file about Ava's history. Sarah can never find out. What does that mean? What the?
Yeah, and we had to wait 2 episodes before we found out. So,
but what a hook that I bit on hard. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
goodness.
Let's get to our actual favorite scenes now for this episode.
Shape out an eagle!
And what do you got for us?
I called this one Dark Dad Jokes. So let's take a listen.
I love Damien.
Sweetie, you think it's too early for me to, get back out there? I mean, how long should I mourn your mother?
It's been 23 years on my end, Dad. I say go for it.
Thank you. Trouble is, I haven't had a single match yet. I think this thing is broken.
If I may, you might have more luck if you talk about your hobbies.
I just said that I enjoy destroying the world to remake it in my image. Oh, I like trying new restaurants.
Also, your profile says you're 199 years old.
Yeah, it wouldn't go any higher. Can you fix that?
Well, everyone lies about their age, bro.
Can you please stop fooling around?
Nora doll, what's the point of living if you can't have a bit of fun?
Well, I'm not enjoying myself. I'm annoyed.
Hi, annoyed. I'm Dad. Right, let's get... fine.
So, I mean, Damien is just biding his time while Ray works on the totem. But the banner here is just so fun. And Nora rolling her eyes at his humor was just a blast. It was just, it was so fun. But I had to go back and look because there was a woman on the screen for his app. And in the trivia, it says it's Carrie Cutter, a.k.a. Cupid from Arrow. That's the picture of the person on the app.
I wonder if that's supposed to mean anything. Like, is it just a weird hint? Just a quick, like, what do they call it? Easter eggs or something?
Yeah.
So funny.
Cupid on a dating app.
That's probably what the joke is.
Two villains matching up on a dating app. I don't know, but it was just fun. I mean, his dad joke and everything. It was fun.
And again, Courtney when she says I'm annoyed, she really is annoyed. Like you think she's annoyed in acting this scene out. She really pulled it off. So funny. Yeah. Well, playing off of the fun, Damien, I just have a real quick little bonus episode. This chimes in perfectly with my rating, and I'm just going to play it, and then you guys can all laugh.
An even exchange. Her life for the scientist. I am gonna kick my ass.
I don't know what it is, but that's like one of the funniest lines I've heard in a long time. I can't help but roll around laughing at his delivery, because I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before. I'm going to kick my ass. Like,
And it was funny. The music in there is a very Arrow-esque type music. It's like, Arrow, Ollie's getting ready to go out on a mission, and it's like, hey, you have failed this city. And it's like,
oh man. And then just the situation of it. He's fighting himself and he hates himself. He's like, oh my God, like he can't stand his own self. And that's why he delivers it the way he does, like, because he's just so funny. So funny. Now, my legitimate scene is the one I said was coming up. I'm calling this one Friends. I didn't know what else to call it. But this is Nate and Ray talking when Nate calls him out on having the hots for Nora.
Thank you for searching all of history to save me from a demented supervillain. 2 demented supervillains. Are you forgetting the apple of Damien Darhks' eye? She's had a tough life. She may come off all mean and witchy, but underneath all that, she's a real person. Wait. Do you have the hots for Nora Dark? What? No. Look, I'm not blind. She's hot. But she's also bonkers, which is kind of hot. I just think that, maybe there's hope for her. You would, you big softy. But you're a delicate flower, Raymond Palmer. Take care of that heart of yours.
Aw. See?
Yeah.
Everybody needs a buddy like that can call you out on stuff and then see right through it and know what you're going through, know what you're thinking, know what you're feeling, and just understand and level with you. Just all of that. It's just Nate was perfect in this scene.
Yeah. Yeah, he
really read Ray, so. All right, we are going to pause for an ad break because this is usually about the time when they're going to jump in, so we thought we'd let you know that they're coming.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
You ain't nothing but a crook, Harley, criming all the time. You ain't nothing but a crook, Harley, criming all the time. Well, you ain't never gonna catch me cause you're just too slow, that's right.
Thank you?
Oh my gosh. That is like... you know how Harley always forgets the skits? I forgot that I sang to her on a podcast. I am not a singer. Oh my God. Where is she tonight? I would love to. I'm gonna have to play that for her again, just so she can relive that.
When she listens, she's gonna be like, "What?"
Oh my God, I forgot all about that.
Oh goodness!
Wow. Well, we're gonna talk about Amazing Grace, where we have a much better singer singing Elvis songs than I am. Let's talk. Let's get into that.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
All right, where are we going with your rating for this one?
All right, I gave it 7.5 choruses of Amazing Grace. So I remember not liking this one back in the day because of kind of the negative view of Christianity that it painted as closed and narrowed. And through the years, I've seen how any faith, especially Christianity, can be twisted and you can have cults. And so I'm a little more forgiving, but it's still hard because I want to see positive portrayals of Christianity in the media. And Legends has done a really good job of showing positive views of ancestors in the faith system with Amaya, Judaism with Stein, Islam with Zari and Behrad. And so I just would have liked to see a little bit more true representation with Christianity. But on to my thoughts with this watch. I thought this was an interesting way of pulling the character of Elvis into our show. And I liked the idea of adding in the Death Totem the way they did into this mix and making it interesting. It's still not my favorite episode, but it is miles ahead of a lot of other Legends episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, because it's not something that's part of my life. I guess I don't see these types of things. It doesn't stand out to me as much. But yeah, you have an interesting point there about how the other religions have had a front and central storyline to show different aspects of them, where Christianity has not gotten that treatment on this show. So it's interesting, but I'm with you. I give it 7.5 haunting ghosts. And all I can really add to what you're saying is I think faith of any kind is like that in many parts of the world, especially in small towns where they don't have their eyes open to the world around them. And especially back then in that time period too, like things were more critical back then. That's just the way it was. You know, it's no different than women being treated less or black people fighting for their rights back then. Everything was so one-sided in their old ways of thinking. That's what history was, and that's why we have to hope that we grow beyond that in today's society and, you know, have better respect and better open eyes, open ears, open hearts towards a lot more stuff. I mean, I don't have a religious bone in my body, so I think for me, like I was saying, I'm probably not as sensitive to it as you might be. But when you talk about it, I think back and go, yeah, you know, you're right. They actually never did that for your belief. They did it for the other ones, but not for they kind of are making Christianity not look so great here. So and I'm just saying in my own in the show's defense, it's just really the time period and all that kind of stuff. Like when we dealt with Jackson having to go back in time and deal with all the black slaves and everything.
Oh yeah.
He wants to fix it, but you can't, because that is part of history. That's just the way things were. We don't have to like it, but we have to accept that that's where we came from, and things hopefully will change. So. But on with the episode, like I agree, this one, it was decent, just not as solid of a story. It just didn't have the emotional beats that I think I was looking for, as some of the other ones have. But I do have to give credit to the casting for finding this young Elvis, because he did really well as young Elvis. He had the right look, he had the right voice, he had the right swagger. It was pretty cool. The Death Totem, like I was talking about in the last episode, is another one of those great examples of how this show inserts a new mystery that puts us on the edge of our seat and wondering what is coming next. Like, the Death Totem, what is that? And why is Sarah connected to it? Like, again, here's this new mystery that this season presented to us, and I think season 3 is really excelling at that. So that's the good stuff I can pull out from this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to change it up a little bit. We'll get to the meat a little bit later, but let's talk about Mick and Axel here. And this was just a blast. Mick and his pet rat. And Axel gets out because of the Death Totem and then dies by drinking something he shouldn't have. So...
I forgot all about Axel and where he came from, so it was fun to see Mick getting to be emotionally attached to something. Another wrinkle in his character development, and I just thought it was really, I mean, yes, it's silly, him and a rat, but it was just cool for Mick. It was just cool to see that he can be emotional about something, because he's usually just Mick, where he doesn't care about anything.
Yeah.
But he cared about this rat. And, I mean, poor Axel. I mean, he got into a vial of something. It looked like a laboratory vial of some glowing green liquid. So what did he get into? It's obviously not meant for consumption. Why was it in the kitchen? Why was it spilt on the floor? Like, what happened there?
Yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, we talked about Ray last episode, but, look at him. He sees how much Mick is hurting, and he holds a funeral for Axel and even gets Sarah to say a few words for this rat because he knows that Mick needs it.
Ray was just trying to be a friend. Always the kind-hearted Ray. Like you said, this is the Ray that we love so much. And it worked. Mick actually teared up at the end. And Ray noticed. He's like, okay. Like, it's just a wonderful little... Yes, it's silly, but it was wonderful for those two characters. Because if you remember way back, was it even season 1 or even... Yeah, season 1, because we still had Snart when they were stuck in that Russian prison. And Ray was getting the crap beat out of him, and Mick came in and stood up for him. And that kind of started a bond between the two of them, which I thought is really, really cool. I hope they had gone more with that in the story, but they never did. So this kind of just reminded me of that they had that moment together in the prison.
And I appreciate there in the end that Ghost Axel gives Mick some closure on this thing,
I didn't expect that. Like, Mick getting to say goodbye to Axel and Axel actually coming to let him know, it's okay. It's okay, let me go. And Mick was just sad, but he got to say his parting words, because we know Mick, if you're his friend, he's got your back, no matter what. If he considers you his partner or his buddy, he's got your back. And that's, even though Axel's just a rat, which I don't think, there's no such thing as just a rat. Like, it meant a lot to Mick. And so to be able to get to say goodbye is the closure that he needed.
Yeah. So we had a section of this story that was Zari and Wally. And Wally's joined the team, and Zari here is a foil for his eagerness. And I do like that she is giving him the lay of the land as the last new person in. She's trying to help him fit in on the ship and explain what things are like on the ship.
Yeah, it's like the newest member of the team gets to be the tour guide for the next new member. But I mean, we do that at work too. We have a lot of engineers that when the interns come in, the newest intern has to give the tour to the new one coming in, kind of thing. So we do that.
Yeah.
And it is kind of cool. And like you said, Zari does kind of dampen him a little bit, which is obviously he needs.
Yeah. Because like his super speed definitely helps with the ship's chores and him getting moved in, but he's annoying Zari at multiple points here.
Well, I mean, it's because we've all wished for speed at times in our lives to do that, to get chores done quickly. Because I mean, can you imagine getting the entire house whipped into shape in a matter of seconds, whereas it normally takes us, I got to spend all Sunday cleaning the house. Like, gosh.
Yard work. Man, that would be so nice.
Yeah, like anything. I mean, it's a handy ability to have, for sure.
But, you know, I appreciate, again, I've talked a lot about her this season, of her being able to look into people's lives who were trying to fit in and are out of place, and she is helping him see beyond his speed and use some of the other skills that he has. And again, it's just one of those reasons we really appreciate Zari.
Yeah, our perfect Zari. Always knowing what each character needs to move forward through things. She's just the best. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
She seems to just be able to do that with every character on the show.
Yeah. And you know what? It pays off because he takes her advice and he connects with the pastor, Elvis's uncle, and gets him to hand over the record. So by telling him a story about him and his dad and the connections there. And so we that know his story from Flash appreciate that, and just the genuineness of that and him connecting really enables him to get through, and I just really appreciate that.
Now that was a good scene for Wally. He wasn't being goofy, he wasn't trying to be funny, he wasn't annoying. He learned something, he listened to people, and he hunkered down and delivered a great speech that helped change the pastor's mind, and it was great. And I also loved them saving the church from the ghosts. That was fun too, I will admit. I mean, sorry, it makes it all better anyway, but I loved just the two of them fighting the ghosts in the church. That was a fun scene.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so the bulk of this episode was really kind of centered around Nate and Amaya helping Elvis out. Because we see him buying this guitar with the death totem attached. And basically, we learn through the anachronism here that this death totem is raising the dead, it's preventing rock and roll and causing all these other ripples through history. But the reason the Legends didn't see it pop up on the radar initially is because the Darhks are hiding that until they start to see the changes on the ship and to say, oh, okay, this is why.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about this for a little bit here, but this whole storyline is tricky to dissect. At first you think the totem is evil and it's raising the dead is a bad thing, but it turns out that the dead just want to be acknowledged so that they can move on. Although the one did grab Wally through the door, and that was scary, so it's hard to say what's going on here. But also, they never really explain the death totem and where it comes from or what its purpose is and why it exists. So there's a lot of stuff about it that's confusing that I wish they went into more detail, and I can't remember if more comes along as these episodes go. But I did like the idea of stopping Elvis from playing his one song on the radio is the key moment that rock and roll bursts into existence, and stopping that is what the anachronism is. I think that's a fun idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know they mentioned in the episode that the guitar was, I think it was Robert Johnson. He's the guy, the guitar player who like supposedly made a deal with the devil to play the guitar. And so like I don't know if like that's where it comes from, and like you, I'm really shady about my knowledge about like the death totem and what we learn later, but we'll see. So
maybe we'll learn more.
Yeah. So they rush to Memphis to find the king, but they kind of discover that his controlling uncle is not letting him, rock and roll basically. And during this church service that they sneak into, the death totem calls out to Zari's totem, and it looks like she's possessed, and so it basically gets the legends thrown out of church.
Well, yeah, I mean, back then, rock and roll was the sign of the devil. That's devil's music. Like, shaking the hips like Elvis did, showing any skin if you showed your belly or something. Like, all of those things were considered bad, though, back then. Like, you're influenced by the devil and all that kind of stuff. So it just played well into the story that we were getting here. But I really liked how passionate Nate was about the music history. He was really into a lot of things back then, like in these early seasons, his history, whether it was war history or music history or, whatever. I just loved his passion for all of it. And this was such a big deal for him to get to be back in time, and helping Elvis was a huge thing for him. And it was just fun for Nate.
Yeah. The funny thing is, you saying that now reminds me of a guy who's retired from the school that I worked at. He was a basketball player for University of North Carolina, and really, really tall. Like, he would have to duck to come into doorways at our school.
Yeah.
But Warren Martin, he's a great guy, but he taught social studies, so he basically was teaching history. But like, if you ask him, like, he loves superheroes, so you could like talk about comic books, and he had this encyclopedia mind. Like, he could ask him, and he would go on. And then you switch over to history, and you switch over to soap opera, and you switch over to wrestling. Like, he knew, like, he just reminds me of Nate. Like, they've got this mind. They're able to like put things in perspective and remember everything, and it just makes me appreciate Nate and who he was at this time, and look, forward and going, oh man, I miss what we had with this Nate. So
exactly.
Yeah. So this death totem on the guitar is connecting Elvis to his dead twin brother Jesse, and it's enabling him to succeed in music. And once again, I appreciate that Nate comes in and he convinces the team to, we need to let Elvis use the totem guitar to record this single and save history. So I appreciate that, like, he understands the priority, but he also understands all the ripple effect that's going to happen if rock and roll doesn't come around.
Yeah, and that, like, when the ghost guitar first lifted off the table, I mean, that, and it was flying around the ship and stuff, that was actually freaky to me. Like, they did a good job with a bit of the spookiness in this episode. And then, with what you're talking about, I was wondering if this is actually a true fact. Did Elvis actually have a twin that didn't survive? So I looked it up, And I found this little clip, or not clip, little fact here. Elvis did have a twin. On January 8th, 1935, Elvis Aaron Presley was born at his parents' two-room house in East Tupelo, Mississippi. About 35 minutes later, his identical twin brother, Jesse Guerin, was stillborn. The next day, Jesse was buried in an unmarked grave in a nearby Priceville cemetery. So it is actual fact. So they did draw on true history there. That Elvis had a twin. So imagine that. Now, I also wonder if there's any truth to this idea that Elvis talked to his twin. Like, did Elvis ever, in real life, did he ever mention his twin? Did he ever say, I can feel my twin brother's presence. He's helping with my music. He's helping me learn the chords and find the right, like, I wonder if that's there, because a lot of twins that lose their other halves have said, I can feel them still here. So it's interesting. I wonder if he's ever said that.
I don't know.
And then just a side note, did you see the new the Elvis movie that was just out recently, like last year?
No, but I think is it on Max now?
It might be. It's the one with Tom Hanks plays his manager.
Yeah, I need to check it out. I think I've got the service that it's on, but yeah, I heard good things, but I just didn't get to see it in theaters. So.
Me and Patty Spivot just watched it recently. It is really good. If you at all care about Elvis, it's interesting to see the life that he had to go through. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, thanks to Nate, Elvis goes in, records the single, and everybody loves it. And in comes his foil. Elvis's uncle comes in, disappointed at Elvis, and he gets Elvis and Nate and Amaya thrown in prison. And this was interesting because I like the historical truth of the fact that, you know, Amaya wasn't in the same cell as the guys because she was a different race, and that wouldn't have, they wouldn't have been in the same cell at that time. So I appreciate that fact there.
And that she's a woman too, yeah.
Yeah.
And it also reminds me, like, his uncle being the pastor in a small town, quite often the religious leaders have a lot of power in town because he has no reason to throw Elvis in prison. He just says to the police, do it, and they obey him. So it's interesting that that's also like that. But I did find it funny that they never took his guitar away from him. Like, you're throwing him in prison because he's playing rock and roll, but you let him keep the very guitar that he's playing the rock and roll on.
Yeah. Plot convenience there, so. So, like we talked about earlier, Wally and Zari are able to get the record and get it on the radio. But because when the song was played, he was using the guitar with the death totem on it, it's bringing the dead back. And this was creepy.
Those ghosts were creepy. Like, when they first started coming out, it was freaky. And when Zari goes to open the church doors to run out and that ghost pops up in front of her, I actually yelped. I completely forgot about that. I jumped and it scared me because I'm sitting here all by myself right now. I was like, oh my gosh. It got me. Got me good.
So I like the scene between Nate and Elvis in the jail cell, and Nate's kind of coaching him on a little bit about jailhouse rock there. But he's giving this pep talk, and it enables Elvis to wield the totem, and he's able to send the spirits back with this version of Amazing Grace. And so the day is saved, and so is rock and roll.
And this is what I'm talking about, what I mean. Like, how do we understand what the death totem is for? Because when you call something a death totem, you just think bad things. But it wasn't used for bad things here. So I hope we get more explanation about it. Because Sarah says in the episode, whoever has the death totem gives them, how did she word it? Gives them reign over the dead. Is that what she said?
Something like that, yeah.
So I don't know what that means, if it's good or bad. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on the wielder, I guess. Yeah. But now the legends have well, they've got the all of the totems, but they still don't have the animal or the water totems. The Darhks have those, but they've got the death totem locked away. But we get this scene of it rattling the container, so we know it's dangerous, even being supposedly safely locked away.
Yeah, and that furthered the mystery about the death totem because they don't tell us anything. But we have in the back of our heads Constantine's warning about Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're wondering, why is the totem freaking out? Does it not get to be with her? Is it because she touched it and now it wants to be with her? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So.
Good. And this season has good cliffhanger and like not massive cliffhangers, but just these little drops of something at the end of each episode where you're going, what? I want to know more.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get to our favorite scenes for Amazing Grace.
Shape out an eagle!
Alrighty.
I had to do this one. It's called Put On Your Sunday Best. We're going to church.
What? Why are you staring at me?
Waiting for you to do the thing you do.
What thing?
You know, you usually send us into the field with a little more pizzazz.
All right, legends, put on your Sunday best because we are going to church.
It's pretty good. Amen.
I mean, I just, I appreciated hearing the effects and the loss of rock and roll has on the culture, and that Ray talks about before this. But it was interesting to me on this watch that Sarah maybe seemed a little off because they were waiting for a snappy line and she didn't give it until they really demanded it. So I was wondering if this was maybe showing that she was in the process of still being taken over by Malice. I mean, if that's a hint to things to come because she's still not her normal self, or she's just off because she's thinking about her relationship with Amaya, with Ava. And so I just thought it was interesting, this little character piece that gets put in there.
Yeah, it's interesting how you try to tie that to what's happening in the episode, because I never actually thought about that. So it affected her without anybody really realizing. It's kind of neat that way.
Yeah.
That these little hints of changes happening through the timeline, and it catches up to them eventually. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm throwing one in for Harley here. I'm pretending that she's picking a scene. This is Nate sending Elvis off at the very end of the episode into the recording studio. The reason I wanted to play this as an extra scene is because when you think about it, it's pretty cool that Nate got to help Elvis, the king of rock and roll, begin his career.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just imagine, we know how globally huge Elvis is in our own lifetime, in our own history. And to get to be there at the very beginning of it and help him start that, I think is a really, really cool moment. So I just kind of put myself in that feeling, and then I appreciated Nate's performance here on why this was so important to him and why he's so happy to be there. So I just wanted to use that scene. Here it is.
Better make yourself comfortable. Something tells me you'll be spending a lot more time in here, especially after that show you just put on.
Something came over me, I guess. I was up there looking at those ghosts. I realized one day this is all gonna be over for all of us. Might as well get the most out of life that we can.
You know what? I think you just discovered the spirit of rock and roll.
Yeah, that's all it is. I just like it.
Mm-hmm.
For those two guys. All right. My favorite scene I'm calling Team Success.
You ready, Captain?
Hello, gorgeous. Look at that volume.
Don't touch it. Serious stuff. Well, look who got his swagger back. Me? Just because I say rock and roll and reinstated the king to his proper throne
doesn't give you an excuse to hog our one bathroom. Some of us need to get
celebrate the fact that we beat the Darhks to the death totem. Although I don't imagine our acquisition will stay off the radar for long.
Well, think of it like this. We're 4 totems up in the 4th quarter. Time is running out for those idiots.
Yep, even though they still have mine.
Well, there'll be time stoning back to wherever hell they came from once we get your totem back.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we need to make sure we keep that death totem on lock.
Box. Lock boxes. I got it covered. I made encrypted lock boxes for each one of the totems.
Well, good. The death totem's powers are not to be taken lightly.
So the reason I like this final moment, because it's showing the team coming together in the ready room to celebrate a win. Mm-hmm. It just gives me that feeling that we've been here long enough now that this team feels like a family, and they're just so comfortable to each other. Like, they finished a mission, it's over. They meet in the ready room as sort of a debrief. We're like, okay, everybody okay? That's good. Yeah, we did good. High five, fist bump. And everyone has a little part to play in the way they feel. And I just love it. It just makes it feel like our team is in a good place now.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, like that. All right, guys, that is it for our favorite scenes. If you would like to support the show, you still can do, and we appreciate all our Patreoners that do. And I believe we kind of tentatively have a date set for doing a hangout. What was that, December something or other? I can't remember what the date was. It was in the chat somewhere. We were talking about it, but while Jeff is looking it up, yeah, we're gonna do a hangout before Christmas time. Not too close to it, but when people still have a little bit of time, we're gonna do a hangout.
Yeah. I think maybe around the 8th.
December 8th. Yeah. Okay, there you go. So, anyway, if you'd like to support the show and get in on the hangouts, just listen to this.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
Don't hide all night and day and wish that you could have your say. The time is now for you to take the floor. Top up your drink and find your nerve. Get the attention that you deserve. But keep it quick, we've no patience for a bore.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your chance to step up into the spotlight and tell us what you think. Here they are, ready to listen to your feedback or show you the door. The Flash, Harley Quinn, and X-Force 11.
All right, we don't get to play that one very often, but it's fun.
Yeah, definitely. All right. First up, we've got an email from Comic Geek Kev. Howdy, legends. This season really is one of the best. First, the absolute best part of the episode is that they use the same actor as young Dark.
With the wig.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of magic in these shows, but Dark is used better here than in Arrow, just like you were saying, Flash. Yep.
Yeah.
And there's enough humor without it being over the top and cheesy, and some good action scenes. Any spotlight on Ray when it was, well, still Ray is welcome. But Wally is poorly used again. I really feel like they never knew how to handle him in these CW shows.
Not even on his own show, The Flash.
Yeah. The worst parts, the tiny Atom suit looked awful. Literally like a poorly made toy. And if Damien could hold Nora in the air, why couldn't he pull her over the damn ledge?
See?
Yes, I get it. She needs to activate the totem. But that ongoing fight and her up and down was silly. And apparently she can fly or float, but Maya can't? Maya can't? Okay, sure. Yeah, it was some type of a bird effect, but we've never seen Amaya use that, so okay.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Which would be cool. I mean, that would give her flight, yeah.
Yeah. But overall, it was still a pretty good episode. On to the next one. Trombone Hero and Josh Groban were great little touches as anachronism results. And I appreciate how when this show acknowledges that not everyone was treated equally in different times, because sometimes they don't do it. True. Yeah. What can I say about the rest of the episode? Not much. Even a good season can have a stinker episode. I found my attention wandering, so I'll just leave it at that. My interest was briefly piqued by Axel Groban's funeral, but then drifted out again. Episode 13, I'll give an 8 out of 10 bad Arrowigs. And episode 14 gets 6 out of 10 peanut butter, banana, and bacon sandwiches, which are really good. Until next time, Comic Geek Kev.
I might have to try that.
And that could have been Ollie's wig from the Leanne Yu.
It very well could have been. They just twisted it a little bit so it hung down differently. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know the wigs. It is pretty silly if you think about. We all know the game Guitar Hero. Mm-hmm. Just the fact that it's been changed to Trombone Hero, as if trombones are a popular instrument that kids want to just play. That's why it's funny, because I can't even envision it.
Yeah.
At all. Oh man, yeah. Just too funny. Thanks, Kev. Next up is Perry White.
Hey, Legends. Perry White here with feedback for No Country for Old Dads and Amazing Grace as part of our Legends of Tomorrow Season 3 rewatch. Let's start with No Country. I liked it well enough. I really like seeing Nora letting her guard down a little bit with Ray, giving the audience a bit of a glimpse into what it is that she ultimately saw in him later on in the series. And I like that Ray got a bit more insight into how vulnerable Nora really is. I mean, they're just freaking great together. I mean, for obvious reasons and professional reasons. I just like seeing them on screen a lot. My one issue with the episode is this. Damien Darhk is a character that dates back to 1759. And while he was a central villain on Arrow and also seasons of Legends of Tomorrow, I think it would have been really cool if we got more of a chance to see the character in those early years, his friends to Nemesis arc with Ra's al Ghul, and his sort of immortal existence thanks to the waters from the Lazarus Pit. Certainly, I don't expect Legends to pivot and wholly focus on Damien, but seeing his younger self here just reminds me that I'd love to have seen more of his earlier days. Finally, it's always interesting how they demonstrate the limits of Damien's magic and powers. At most times, his magic and powers appear pretty devastating. I mean, able to kill people with a mere touch. But it was sort of strange that when he was trying to save Nora from falling off the building, he was only able to focus his magic on keeping her from falling only when his younger self was not attacking him. I mean, it just feels like, based on his power set, it just sort of feels like he'd be able to do both, like be able to save Nora and fend off attack from his younger self at the same time. Oh well. All right, let's jump to Amazing Grace. What can I say about Amazing Grace? Not a whole lot. At least not a whole lot that's good. I mean, the best thing I can say about the episode, which is the best thing I can say about every episode, is that Tala Ash is always amazing. I like how they use her character as sort of the conduit for the audience, pairing her with a variety of characters, and in that way we sort of get to know her a little bit, and we get to know other characters a little bit. In this particular case, this episode, we sort of got that with her interactions with Wally. I just sort of like how they let Zari be the Wally West welcome wagon here. But I couldn't help but think to myself, why in the absolute hell, Wally, would you use the Speed Force to really go fast and move into Stein's room when the alternative was bunking with frickin' Zari? Who in their right mind turns down a chance to hang out with Zari?
Yeah.
Somebody make that make sense for me.
Impossible.
Other than Zari and Wally, the rest of the episode was pretty forgettable. I guess I can say the actor playing Elvis is good enough. What was wholly unbelievable, though, was the flip-flopping nature of his uncle. In the very beginning, I mean, he was so hell-bent against letting Elvis turn to the dark side of rock music. I mean, based on that and how we first saw him, and he didn't really change much, it was just wholly unbelievable that Zari, a person he thought was a freaking witch, and then a cheesy speech from Wally, a guy he doesn't know from Adam, would be able to persuade him to change his mind. It didn't fit, it didn't make sense, and it just, I don't want to say it fell flat, but it just was not believable in the very least. Overall, one episode I thought was pretty good. The other left me less than whelmed. At least the next 2 episodes should be pretty solid. We get sort of an iZombie Sarah, and then we get Attack of the Clones. So let's freaking go. Anyway, this has been Perry White making another deadline, and thank you very much. I'm out.
Thank you very much. I like it.
Love it,
Carrie. And you know what else I like? I like that he opens his feedback with our show and our rewatch and our he's laying claim to this, like he's part of this family, and I just love that he's got that feeling, because that's exactly what we want you guys to feel, is that we're a family in this. We've been all together for so many years now, so I love that he can just say in our rewatch, he's just taking ownership of it. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, good stuff.
Last up, and certainly not least up, is our friend Dreamweaver.
Hello, Legendaires. Dreamweaver here, back from a trip through time and space with the Legends to rejoin y'all on your journey through time and space for the rewatch. I'll probably talk about all that with you at a later time, but for now, thoughts on the rewatch. First one up is No Country for Old Dads, a Ray-centric episode that really launched Ray and Nora's relationship. While I love that Legends is a team show, I do enjoy when some characters can get the focus and have their own story and adventure for the sake of character development and giving them some well-deserved focus, and this was a good one for Ray. He got a solo adventure that played right into his science side, had a lot of fun getting to know and work with Nora, and we got to see Nora start to turn to the side of good, even whilst falling more and more under the control of Mollis. And I can't help it, Neil McDonough has so much fun playing Damien Dark, and I have fun watching him play Damien Dark. It is a bit ridiculous watching him fight against a younger, but somehow looks older, longer-haired version of himself, but quite fun, especially with all the dad jokes and jabs at himself. The concept of cold fusion having actually been solved and working, yet being wiped from history, is interesting, as it falls into the folklore of the science community, and honestly, the fossil fuel industry hiring an assassin to stop it? I can believe that. Provides for a fun Legends romp through 1960s Berlin. The dad jokes and the things that needed to be said between Damien and Nora were a nice part of this episode. Dark facing Dark and making the crack that he needs to learn magic. Good. We see in this episode that Wally joins the Legends, but this and the next episode make it clear why Wally just couldn't stay long. His speed just isn't exactly the Legends speed. But I did like having Wally for a while, since Flash didn't know how to properly use him either, and I always enjoyed his character, but they never gave him much to do. Also love seeing Ava and Sarah's relationship continue to grow here, and this is where we get introduced to the fact that Mollis is imprisoned by time and the anachronisms are helping to break the time prison. And while Ray broke the Berlin Wall to send a message to the Legends of where he's at, it's probably what also let Mollis take further control over Nora at the end of the episode as he grows stronger. And with all the knowledge we have now, in retrospect of where Nora's character goes in the future, it's kind of sad seeing her get taken over here, especially right on the verge of going to the good side and having a better relationship with Damien. even if Damien's still a villain at this point. I forgot that Zari ever went into the ancestral realm with Amaya, before going into the actual totem later on. Also forgot about Grodd killing the Time Bureau director on video like that. I didn't and still don't love that Grodd kind of continues into the season, but that was really harsh. It does put Ava in charge at this point, but that was a harsh way to die. 2 stray thoughts before I move on to the next episode. The bottle that Ray put the Palmer Tech phone in for the Legends to find. Did you see the neck of that bottle? There's no way that phone would fit in there. Unless he shrunk it first, I guess. But still. And secondly, Wally talks about collecting souvenirs in this one. And I feel this has to be a reference to Young Justice, because Wally was collecting souvenirs after every mission there. So I enjoyed that, seeing that in here. Anyway, this episode gets a 8.5 out of 10 from me. On to the next, episode 14, Amazing Grace. I remember this episode and not minding it, and I didn't mind it now, but I thought it could have been a lot stronger with what they were working with. It's an episode with Elvis, and the cultural and timely importance of music, and we get Ghost. But at the end of the day, it was just very simple. It didn't get into as much depth as I would have liked, especially since they're in the 1950s in a southern religious setting, and the battle with rock and roll. The conversation that Wally and Zari have with the pastor toward the end just was too easy. He wouldn't have let up that easily with just one heartfelt conversation, and just being honest to that time period, not with 2 characters like Wally and Zari who are black and Muslim. Legends is usually better at dealing with those difficult dynamics and not shying away from it, but this whole episode just felt very surface level. And I know that the CW doesn't have a very big budget, but the design for the ghosts felt very uninspired. There could have been more there. I did like how they worked with the idea of music being so fundamental and significant to culture and time, and Nate's enthusiasm about it. And that little moment of his hair deflating because of the change makes me giggle. Also love that the Legends waited for Sarah to give her catchy send-off before they started the mission. That was fun. Honestly, my favorite part of this episode was probably the side story with Mick and Axel. It was the most emotive of everything in this episode. And I like the bit that Wally and Zari make about how the ghosts get you all the points in Miss Pac-Man, and then they're faced with actual ghosts. Zari also lists some events to Wally when she tries to tell him about what she thought time travel would be like. And 2 of those things, seeing Woodstock and saving Shakespeare, are 2 things that the Legends end up doing later in the show. So that's kind of a fun little nod in there, now that we have seen the seasons after this. This episode does get us the Death Totem, and a complete set of totems now in the show. And it leads to one of my favorite episodes, which is episode 15 coming up next. But this is only getting a 7 out of 10 from me. Alright, that's all for now. So until next time, your friend, Dreamweaver.
You know, every once in a while, she gets me. She really, really gets me. I love it.
Yeah.
Good thoughts as always, Dreamweaver. Good thoughts from everybody. Our 3 very dedicated feedbackers.
Yeah, and Dreamweaver, we cannot wait to hear about the Legends Con you went to over in the UK.
Oh my gosh.
I was just living vicariously through your photos and being very jealous of being that close to some of those actresses. You know, I would have been like speechless, but I don't know how much that group photo cost you, but I would say that it was worth every penny to be with the entire Legends team almost. So,
pretty much. That is a rare opportunity right there and a rare experience. Like the entire Legends team, all the characters that we are talking about week to week that we've been talking about for 8 years now, like, oh my gosh, so cool. Because I know that is probably not going to come around again.
Yeah.
So definitely worth the trip for sure.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear your thoughts. All right, guys, that is all we got for tonight. If you'd like to be part of the next 2 episodes, just send in some feedback like this.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to tomorrowslegendspodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter @tomorrowslegends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/tomorrowslegends and become part of the community.
All right, X-Force, so are we back in 2 weeks? There's no weird?
We're back on the 1st, and we'll be talking about necromancing the stone and I, Ava. So 2 really good episodes.
I remember really liking Ava, yeah.
Yeah.
The shocking, like, it blew us away to find out she's a clone. I can't wait.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Yep. Very, very cool stuff. Yeah, awesome, guys. And I took a peek at our poll. I put a poll up a few weeks ago about guessing what the other shows that we're going to be covering in the new year, and nobody's got it yet. I think people have forgotten about it. So if you want to revisit that and go have a look, I was trying to think, what other hint could I give you that's not going to give it away? And I was thinking, one of the actors has also been in some of the Transformers movies. There's a hint for you.
Yeah. And I will let you know that I had not heard of this series until Flash brought it to my attention. So I'm looking forward to watching it for the first time. So.
Yeah, me too. I've never seen it, so yeah, that'll be good. Awesome, guys. That is all we got for tonight. This is The Flash signing off.
This is X-Force 11, so say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.